is all made up in your head, because what you
Biden's
do
DOJ is
on
also
your show
prosecuting
every
Donald Trump
day
twice.
is you groom your audience for fascism, and you set them up for a complete takeover of the DOJ.
We're about to have a look at a debate between Michael Knowles, a commentator from the Daily Wire, and that is a multi-million-dollar operation, versus Francesca Fiorentini, who's from a podcast from a YouTube channel that has 90,000 subscribers. And I'm not going to lie to you, I'm a little bit disappointed that she has more subscribers than this channel that you're watching currently. And I normally don't ask at the beginning of a video for people to make sure they hit that subscribe button, but while you're here, just do that, okay? Show a little love, hit that subscribe button, and maybe share this video with somebody that's like-minded. Because if you're America first, you're anti-woke, you're definitely in the right place. So let's go ahead and just get into it.
But something happened that changed everything, and this is the law of unintended consequences. Alvin Bragg started charging Trump, and immediately the entire Republican Party coalesced behind him almost in 48 hours. Of course, the country bifurcated into this being a political witch hunt using lawfare, as a tool, and we're still debating that. But here's what's really interesting. If Trump becomes president, I think he has a big debt to Alvin Bragg.
Right.
Alvin Bragg is the kingmaker.
Yeah.
He made Trump president by polarizing the country so much and motivating the base so much that in the last 42 hours, Trump has passed $60 million in fundraising. That's an all-time record for him. So what's happening here is this unusual time, and I understand that you may not like that as an unintended consequence if you're Alvin Bragg, but I think history will show he made Donald Trump president one more time. And that's just the way it is.
You know what? I completely agree. I think it's one of the most willful. I'll come to Francesca in response. It seems to be one of the most willfully stupid acts of self-harm I've seen any political party commit. You had Trump right on his knees, done. And you've revived the rotting political corpse of this guy, and you've now got him roaring back to the White House. And the only thing, as Mitt Romney, of all people, who hates Trump and represents by absolutely the most moderate part of the Republican Party, when even he says Democrats think they can put out the Trump fire with oxygen, it's political malpractice. He's right, because the only thing that could further guarantee a Trump victory is if they try and put him in jail on July the 11th, which, by the way, I wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah, it's remarkable times. We haven't seen polls out since the verdict, and so everybody's waiting to see what happens with the unintended consequence of this in terms of just independent voters. And so here's the thing to realize. If you polled 1,000 independent voters, and they will decide the election, most people agree with that in states like Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, et cetera. I bet you, and we've had the same on this panel, we're debating it, 99% of them have no idea what this case was about at all, and have no idea what exactly he did, and I'm not sure they care. The fact that more than half of them think it's politically motivated is unsettling.
Yeah.
And as I said earlier, we'll get finished off in the appellate system, but this is a remarkable time in American history, and not that great for the American brand, as you started talking about at the beginning. This is more like a Venezuela kind of Cuba, Banana Republic story. You got the porn star. All this stuff is really not what G7 countries do to their leaders.
I completely agree. This is Francesca. I just don't get. We see you're laughing, but Mitt Romney, for Mitt Romney to come down so squarely on the side of Trump.
I do want to just say, look, so the crimes were falsifying business records. Now, the reason I didn't know that before is because I'm not a lawyer and I'm not the journalist who is anchoring this entire show, who should have told you that it was falsifying business records. Now, on the other
because
point,
those aren't felonies.
I hear you that most Americans don't care about falsifying business records. I agree with Kevin and I agree with Piers. However, I will say this, most Americans also are very much go on gut. And they don't like that a candidate is now a convicted felon, but moreover, this candidate is someone who, and it is not the crime, however we know, cheated on his pregnant wife with a porn star in a hotel in Lake Tahoe and then bragged about it and then tried to pay her to shut up and also paid another Playboy bunny to also be quiet about their relationship.
Bill Clinton had sex
with a
with
lot
an
of American
intern
people. You're
in
going
the
back to Bill
Oval
Clinton because it's
Office.
the only thing you have.
Well, it's not a bad thing to have.
You're going back. No one's
Unlike
talking
Trump,
about
he
Bill
was
Clinton.
president at the time.
You know, I don't mean to pick on Francesca too much here, but it's very telling that even the liberals who are going on television to defend this ruling have to Google in the breaks to figure out what the crime was, and even then, I'm sorry to say, misrepresent what the actual supposed crime was. The reason here that this has to take. Well, excuse me one second, Francesca. I'll just finish my point real quickly.
Books. That's the same thing.
Yeah. It's not a felony, not a crime, but anyway, that's a point for another time. The reason why even the great defenders of this conviction can't, yes, to you as well. The reason that they can't articulate this is because it's not really a crime. That's why they had to upend 234 years of precedent for this. And it gets back to a point that you made earlier, Piers, and that you made, Kevin, which is that Alvin Bragg really overplayed his hand. Sure, he overplayed his hand to some degree, but what else were they going to do? Donald Trump was always going to be the Republican nominee in 2024. A lot of people feel that he was gypped in 2020. He's the biggest guy in the party. It was going to happen. And Trump poses a real threat to the liberal establishment. He's not a Mitt Romney-type Republican. He has different views from the so-called uniparty on things like trade, on things like immigration, and things like foreign policy and war. Trump posed a major threat. That's why they took such extraordinary measures for the last 8 years to take this guy out. They weren't able to do it politically. They weren't even really able to do it at the ballot box. So what's left? And
you know what's crazy about the question that Michael Knowles just asked right there is that this interview happened before the first assassination attempt on Donald Trump, where he was shot in the face, happened. And so when he asked what else can they do, I don't think that an assassination attempt was even in the purview of Michael Knowles' mind when he said that. And it's just crazy to me that not only has there been one attempt, there's been a second attempt now at this point. And we have less than 4 weeks about 4 weeks now till the election is coming. And, you know, with all the October surprises, we don't know what else is going to come this month, but hopefully the assassination attempts are over and we can get to this election free and clear and have a fair election. But I just wanted to add that point because it's crazy that Michael Knowles is basically laying it out there saying, you know, they've attempted everything. Well, he left one thing out, and so I figured I'd include that.
The only thing left to do is to try to throw him in prison so that he can't campaign for the election. I agree, it's backfiring.
This is not a federal case, Michael. You know that. It's not even a federal case. Why do you think that it's not a DOJ case? It's not a Biden case. It's not a Merrick Garland thing. It's New York state law. So the idea that this is somehow politically motivated is all made up in your head because what you do on your show every day is you groom your audience for fascism and you set them up for a complete takeover of the DOJ. This is all about allowing Trump to get away with any crime he wants, as you sort of slighted and sort of, you know, laid out very like nonchalantly just a little bit ago. He was impeached twice. Doesn't really matter that he tried to blackmail the leader of Ukraine into digging up non-existent dirt on Joe Biden, but that doesn't matter to you
Joe
or
Biden
your
threatened
followers.
to withhold arms.
You want to make sure. You want to make sure that when
you're
Trump is
accusing me
reelected,
of fascism.
he can get away. He can
Francesca,
get away
you're
with
accusing
getting
me of
rid of the
fascism. That's a
Department of
big charge.
Education.
All I would point out is that it's not my party that's imprisoning its political opponents
right
now. So
if we're going to throw that accusation about, I was about to say one of the key tenets of fascism is you imprison your political opponents. Let me come back to Mark Geragos. I want to play a clip from Donald Trump at the weekend. This is talking to Fox and Friends, where he talks about the prospect of maybe going to jail.
The judge could decide to say, hey, house arrest or even jail.
It
How
could.
do you face what that could look
I'm okay with it. I saw one of my lawyers the other day on television saying, oh, no, you don't want to do that to the president. I said, you don't beg for anything. You just, the way it is. I don't know that the public would stand it, you know. I'm not sure the public would stand for it. With a,
if you tried house arrest or...
I think it would be tough for the public to take. You know, at a certain point, there's a breaking point.
Now, Mark, the question I was going to ask you is that a lot of people think the way Trump has been trashing the judge, the court, the process and everything night after night when he comes out to TV cameras, that under normal circumstances, you could trash talk your way into a prison sentence. Is that remotely possible here?
Well, let me give you the legal analysis and then I'll give you the political. There is no instance I can think of where you're convicted of 34 felonies in state court in America, in any jurisdiction, while you are found in contempt 9 times and a judge threatening to put you in jail, where when you're convicted, the judge doesn't remand you, meaning put you in jail right there pending sentencing. Obviously, that was not going to happen here. Obviously, at least to me politically, this judge is not going to put him in jail on July 11th. I don't even think he's going to give him house arrest. My friend Alan Dershowitz suggested something that I had not thought of. I have been speculating that the judge will give him 30, 60, or 90 days in jail, but stay it pending the appeal. Alan thinks that he will impose a state prison sentence of, say, 2 years and just hang it over his head. And that's somewhat diabolical, because if you've got that state prison sentence over his head and he does not win the election in November, there's all kinds of mischief that could happen after that. So
he pretty much lost me there when he said his friend was Alan Dershowitz. But, you know, that'd be crazy if New York State went ahead and imposed a 2-year prison sentence for Donald Trump, thus basically forcing Donald Trump to never return to New York again, a city that he and his family helped build. That would just be, and it would be even crazier if they went and tried to extradite Trump from Florida, especially after the FBI raid on his Mar-a-Lago home, where, you know, it was rumored that the Secret Service, or not the Secret Service, but the FBI had orders to potentially use deadly force if the situation called for it during that raid, which, you know, that whole case has basically been thrown out by the judge now because it's all bullcrap. And I also wanted to point out that since they had this debate, the prison sentence for Donald Trump was actually moved back. It was postponed beyond the election date. So pretty much if Trump wins this whole case is going to go away. There's no way they'll be able to pursue and try to put an active president in jail, especially if he wins, right? And then after Trump's 4-year term, I don't think the Democratic apparatus would have any reason to pursue charges or anything like that, because now Trump has served his 8 years and he's no longer a threat. I have no doubt that he will step down whenever he's supposed to step down, just like he did last time, even though the Democrats are going to accuse him of trying to become a dictator and a king or whatever and not step down after his 4 years. I don't believe Donald Trump wants to be president for the rest of his life. I think that after he serves these next 4 years, he's going to want to go golf with his granddaughter and his family and enjoy the remaining years that he has, because he will be in his mid-80s at that point. And, you know, who wants to have the pressure of being president up until the day they die? I mean, besides Joe Biden, right? I mean, I know he's still alive, but, you know, we'll just keep it at that, right? So with that, I think we'll just go ahead and wrap it up there. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.